Welcome to the Patreon exclusive bonus SDConCast, a special podcast of the San Diego Comic-Con unofficial blog. Good evening. I am your host, Carrie Dixon, and joining me on the podcast tonight is Erin Tapkin.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
Welcome to our special bonus Patreon-only podcast. If you have questions for the next Patreon podcast, you can post them in the Patreon comments for this post, or you can send them via email or on Twitter at SD_comic_con. We today are going to talk about one of your and I's favorite topics, commissions. Woo! So you and I have both ordered quite a few commissions, but before we get into that, let's just kind of talk about what commissions are. And I also want to talk about like how to order them, because I think a lot of people get kind of overwhelmed or nervous about asking an artist for something specific. So let's just kind of talk about this.
I think there is a sense of intimidation sometimes.
Yes.
So yes.
And
there definitely shouldn't be. There should not be at all.
Totally agree. So let's just start with the easy one. What is a commission, Erin?
I would say a commission is any time you specifically request something from an artist. And it can be something very vague, like, hey, I want something that's this size or this price point, or it can be something extremely detailed, as in I want this particular person or character doing this thing with this color background, and anywhere in between there.
Yep. So what is sort of your process when you're deciding you want a new commission? Like, do you start with an idea and then you find an artist to match? Do you start with, oh, I like that artist style, I think they do a good job at XYZ? What's sort of your process for just determining what commission you're going to order?
I start with, I have a list of characters, ideas, movies, shows, things that I would like to see artwork of. And some of it is really personal, like my dog. Yep. I have a lot of commissions of Paxton, or characters, comic book characters I like, or movies that I particularly like. So I keep a running list of that, just on a note on my phone. And anytime I think of something, oh, that might be neat to have some artwork of that, I add it to it. But so I always have that in the background. But then when I see a particular artist and I see it's somebody who does commissions, I try to think, is there anything on my list that fits that style, or I would like to see in that style?
Yeah.
So those are the two things I start with. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm usually pretty much the same. As I usually start with like a vague idea, at least, of like, here are a couple ideas I kind of have floating around my head of things I'd like. And then I usually go and I try to find an artist that I think their style would match up well to that. Honestly, like, even just as an attendee myself, I use our commission list, or we've done posts of like previous commissions from Comic-Cons. I use those a lot because I think if you can kind of see an actual example of what they've done, sometimes it's a lot easier in my head, at least, to visualize like, okay, I think they would do a great job at XYZ. So once you've sort of decided like, okay, this is kind of what I think I know I want, this is the artist that I think would do a good job at that, how do you go about asking them for a commission?
I usually try to figure out what my personal budget is, what I'm comfortable with spending, and what I am able to spend. Then I will contact the artist and I will say, my name. I'll introduce myself and I'll say, I have a budget of this, and I'm wondering what I ask for their rates. Do you have anything within that range? Do you have a list of your options? Because a lot of artists will do small, medium, larger size. They'll offer you it's not a one size fits all, like you get this or you get nothing. Some of them will also do a headshot. I'll do a bust shot. They'll do a 3/4 shot or full length. They'll do a whole thing with a background. Some of them are digital only. So I let them know, here's what I'm looking for. Here's what my budget is. Can you tell me a little bit about what you offer? So the email is the first thing, but I personally like to mention my budget within that first conversation, because I want that person to know that, like, if it's nowhere near that, I want them to feel comfortable enough to just to be like, I'm sorry, I don't offer anything in that price point. I don't want them to feel bad about doing that to me. Like, I'm okay with that. But
I think that's a fantastic idea. I usually I actually don't normally do that. Again, the list that we put out, a lot of them will already have the rates, but not all of them. So you do for sure sometimes have to ask about what are your rates. But I usually just email and ask, hey, I'm interested in a commission. Can you tell me a little bit more about your rates? I mean, most artists are not going to be offended at either of these questions. Like, this
I don't think so at all.
No. These are very common questions. And I totally agree that, like, budget should be one of the first conversations that you have, because you also like don't want to get your expectations up too high. Like, oh my God, like they can do this amazing thing. And then you find out like, well, but it's way out of my price range.
Yep.
So,
and I think that some people, that's maybe one of the intimidating things, is that you feel like you can't ask an artist, because if they write back to you and say, here's my price, and none of those prices are in a range that you're comfortable with, you might just cut off conversation and never contact them again. And sort of, I guess it's a artist way of ghosting them. But, you know, I don't think people should be ashamed to say, sorry, that's not in my range right now. You know, maybe I can do something, save up and do something with you next summer or next summer convention or something like that.
Thanks for getting back to me.
You should. There are millions of artists with millions of different rates. And everybody's completely individual as far as what they're willing to do for. Yes. And as customers, we're all individual as far as what we're able to spend or willing to spend. And neither of us should be ashamed of that.
No, absolutely. there is such a wide range of prices, like across the board, you know, like ranging from $25 to thousands of dollars. It's for sure, like you said, like it is not one size fits all.
No.
So yeah, I agree. I think budget should really be kind of the first conversation that you have. And then after you've had that conversation, how do you approach them with, this is what I'm thinking? Like, do you go ahead and send them examples, like, especially with your dog, like, would you go ahead and send them photos of?
Yep. What I had done with the last several ones that I had done of Paxton, I actually sent one photo along with it, along with my initial letter saying, you know, I'm looking for something like a portrait of my dog. Here she was, you know, here's a picture of her when she was, you know, working at the comic book store with me. Because it's important to me. Some people don't like to do animal figures. Some people don't like to do real humans. Some people will only do comic book characters. Some people won't do licensed comic book characters. I try to find all that information out, but if they want reference material, I think giving them reference material is very important, especially if it's specific people or your pets. I did several commissions, and I have a few with me right now. I did several commissions about a decade ago with an artist, Matt Kint, and I was looking for a character by the name of Little Lada, who is an older character. She's a big hefty girl who likes to eat a lot, and she's also really strong. And I specifically described to him that I'm looking to do sort of a cover recreation. And I sent him a few covers. Here's what I like, but you know, I was very specific as far as like I wanted dealing more with Lada's intense appetite rather than her physical strength. So getting that detailed with it, I don't think is something that an artist minds at all. I've never had an artist come back to me and say, you know, no, I can't do that, or no, I won't do that.
Absolutely. And I think that it also just depends as well, because I totally agree with you. There are times when like I've been really specific, and there are other times as well where I'm also just like, I want these characters from some TV shows, and I will send references because, again, especially if it's something that they're probably not going to be super familiar with, like, I think it is very important to send references. And I mean, look, if you're asking for like Captain America or Iron Man or the Hulk, like, people know who those are. But if you're asking for something a little more obscure, don't assume that the other person knows what they are. But I also think it's totally okay to mostly leave it up to the artist. Like, there have definitely been times where I'm like, I'm just looking for something with these two, like whatever you would recommend.
Yes. Yeah, that's fun. That's fun too. Especially if you're picking an artist. I remember several years ago when I asked the artist Victoria Ging to do a little Lada for me. And I was like, I just want it in your style. So whatever you want to do, I'm okay with. And that's also very fun to let them run wild with it.
Yeah. So I just wanted to make it clear that I don't think that like you have to have every single detail like to the artist. If you're one of those people who just don't totally know what they want, I think it's also totally fine to just be like, yes, I just want, the Hulk at the convention center. Go nuts.
But that's another reason why our list and following the commission's hashtag on Instagram, like that's also fun because that can give you some amazing ideas.
Yes, totally agree.
Be inspired.
Yes, absolutely agree. And I've gotten some great ideas from that list. Like, I really like Brianna Cherry Garcia's artwork. I think she does amazing stuff, but she's done some stuff with Harley Quinn, specifically from the Birds of Prey movie, which, for my money, other than Venom, is the best comic book movie. And I thought last year, I was like, how fun would it be to have one of Harley eating her egg sandwich from that movie? So that's what I asked her to do last year, and she knocked it out of the park and did a great job. But yeah, like, absolutely find an artist whose style you like, and then just start talking to them. Like, it doesn't have to be intimidating. It really doesn't.
No, it does not have to be intimidating. I will say there are a few absolute no-nos that you shouldn't do. And the first one would be never ask for something for free. Never question their prices, or question their prices in a way that's like, ooh, you ask that much? Like, don't be one of those people. Yeah.
I mean, I completely agree. I mean, I do think that like there have been times where there's an artist who I've used before for like some 11 by 17s. And I told him last year, I was like, look, I love your artwork. I really want to do another commission with you, but I just don't have the wall space for like another 11 by 17. So do you have another option? Do you have anything a little bit cheaper? And he did 2 like 8 by 10 headshots that I love last year. So again, it's totally okay to ask those kind of questions, but it's not okay to be like, can you do that for 50% of the price that you just quoted me? That's not okay.
Yeah. They've set their prices for a reason. They've honed their talent for many, many years. It's as customers, it's really not us to say whether that's a good price or a bad price. It's just for us to say whether or not we're comfortable with it and willing to go ahead with it. And sometimes and expect to put down a deposit, and you want to do that in a timely manner. If they ask for full payment in advance, you just have to do it.
Yep, totally agreed. So I think you have some commissions that you were going to show off.
I was going to show a couple of the little Lada ones that I had Matt Kent do. These are supposed to be cover recreation type things. So you can see it's got her title on there. Cute. And I like to focus on her eating. So here she's at a farmer's market and she has a wagon full of food. So this is one of them I had him do.
That's so fun. I love
3 or 4. This other one is another cover recreation, and there she is at the Iowa State Fair, Iowa. That's where I'm from. So food on a stick, and then he added little Dot there, who's another character from her universe. So those are just a couple of them that I had done. And those
Those
were
are
about
fun.
a decade ago. So those are pretty old, but that's still a character I still get stuff from. So I still do request a lot of stuff, but it's definitely been more requesting more pictures of or more artwork of Paxton in the last couple of years than little Lada, but
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, I am going to share some of your commissions that you guys were kind enough to share with us. So I'm going to share my screen. All right.
oh my goodness.
Okay. How do I even? We're just going to do it this way. There we go. Okay, so this first piece was for Teresa, and this is James Silvani, who unfortunately is not going to be at Comic-Con this year from what I've heard. But this is an awesome little piece. It's got Stitch, and then what is that robot from? Aaron, you'll know.
No, I don't. Is it from? Oh, what is that? The robot that had like the lights in the face.
Yeah, is it like The Incredibles? Too? I don't know.
Heck, if
Teresa,
I can remember.
Teresa, when you watch this, tell us what that's from, or someone. Yes. And then for some reason, this.
Look at it. She's got that beautifully framed.
This is, in my opinion, one of the best commissions that has ever been done. This is also for Teresa by James Silvani. And I just love this piece to death. So it's got Robin Hood and then Nick from Zootopia. And it's basically Nick is selling counterfeit badges and Robin Hood has come to stop him. And this is just perfect.
It's so clever.
It's so clever. And it's such a fun tie-in, like, to the convention. It's such a fun mashup just in general. Like, this is just perfect. Teresa, you have, in my opinion, one of the best commissions that's ever been done at the convention, but I think you know that. Okay. And then Damien got this really fun piece by Patrick Ballesteros that is Stan Lee and some of his creations also at Comic-Con. And I think Comic-Con is like a really fun way to make the piece extra special, because not only did you have it made at Comic-Con, but you're also incorporating Comic-Con. I've done that in a couple of my pieces. Like the year after we thought we were getting our Mr. Robot Ferris wheel and then we didn't, I had Patrick make me one basically of the Mr. Robot characters on the Mr. Robot Ferris wheel, and he put it like in the Petco interactive zone. And I was like, there, I finally got it.
So it's artwork, and it's a memento of the occasion
of a thing that didn't happen. But yes, it is though. I mean, I think exactly just like this. Like, look, it's Linkit Hall H. I think that incorporating the convention just makes it extra special for me. So this is Santiago's commission by Patrick. This is so cute as well. I love it. And
he's conquering Hall H.
He is conquering Hall H. That's awesome. And then this is a piece for Paula that Mary Bellamy did. I'm assuming of her cats. Super cute.
Cats as dragons, even.
Cats as dragons. Yeah. So fun. Little beasts. All right. And then Paula had some more artwork of her cats done.
I recognize Katie Cook. Yep. I recognize her work.
I know. So Katie Cook actually has not been to the convention in a couple of years, but when she was, she would do these little watercolors, and basically you would line up, and when you get to the front of the line, you would just tell her what she wanted, and she would knock it out like really quick. And I greatly miss her doing that because those were always so fun.
These must be the kitties. Oh, and there's an angel kitty though. That's
I know.
Yeah.
I know. This one's really good.
That's so cute.
Okay, and then these were several commissions for Brooke that she had done. And some of them were done at Comic-Con and not all of them. And I think this is a really fun way to do it too, because basically she's got a theme and she just has different artists do the same theme.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, so like the top left is artwork by Bruce Timm. There in the top center is Chris Samney. On the top right is Jay Lee. In the middle is Bill Sienkiewicz. Todd Nick is bottom left, and Adam Hughes is bottom right. But I think this is also really fun. Again, it's just picking a theme and then letting different artists do it. And a lot of people do this, especially if you've got like a sketchbook. I know a lot of people will go up to different people's tables at the convention, and they might get a different artist to do their take on Captain America on each page. And then you've got like a Captain America sketchbook. So I think that's pretty cool.
And I feel a little like sketchbooks, while we still see some people floating around with them, I feel like they've definitely been a little bit more replaced by commissions.
Yes.
Essentially because a lot of commissions you can order in advance and pick up at the show. What's hard with a sketchbook, and I've got 3 sketchbooks full of art that I love, but you have to leave the book with the person. If they can't get it done right away, then you have to come back, and then you can't be getting other sketches done while the book is there. And so it's not always the easiest, but it does make for a really fun book to have a whole themed book.
Absolutely, totally agreed. And I mean, you can run into the same thing, even not just with a sketchbook, but at con commissions versus pre-orders. I mean, even if you order on Wednesday night, I mean, it may not be ready until, Sunday, or sometimes they won't get it done until the end of the convention and they'll wind up having to mail it to you. So it's also always a really good idea if you are doing like a commission like that at the convention, where like you walk up to their booth, you get on their physical list, like in person. It's always a good idea to leave your contact information and to get their contact information so that you can stay in touch. It's always a good idea to ask them, like, when do they think the commission will be ready? And then just to make sure that you follow back up.
And not get too upset if something should happen. Sometimes people get really, really busy.
Absolutely. So yeah, I mean, and I think we've all had this happen where sometimes, somebody will say like, oh, I think it'll be ready like Friday and today. And then if it's not done till the next day, like, it's okay. It's okay.
And if you have a deadline, let's say you're only going to be there Saturday, you're not going to be there Sunday. You make sure that you make them aware of that, but also be prepared that if it can't be done, it can't be done. Hopefully they'll tell you that up front.
Well, and again, I do think it's pretty common for them to, in those kind of cases, to be like, well, but I could ship it to you after. So just make sure that you exchange contact information, make sure that, you state all of that and let each other know what's going on. Communication is really just what's key here in all of these situations. Like, don't ever feel like you can't ask questions. Yes. If you have a question, ask it. Like, everyone would be much happier if you did ask, as opposed to, thinking something else, setting your expectations. And
no artist wants you to come back and be unhappy with it.
No.
Or to later be tagged on social media saying, I got this commission and I hate it. And then you didn't tell them when you picked it up. So nobody wants that.
Yeah. So on that note, let's talk a little bit kind of about etiquette, like after you get a commission. Yeah. Do you share your commission on social, or what do you do?
I usually do. As long as I always make sure to tag the person. I have never had anybody ask me not to, but if they asked me not to, I definitely wouldn't share it. I think
most artists would love if you shared it.
As long as you're properly tagging them, attributing it to them. Sometimes you'll get people immediately asking, oh, how much did that cost you? And that's something that I kind of it's not that I would hide it. However, I think that an artist is entitled to change their prices between events or between projects. So I would hate to say, oh, it cost me $200 and then have that person contact and say, oh, but you did this one for Aaron for $200. And why are you asking $225 for me? So I don't tend to like to discuss prices, exact prices of what I paid in a public forum like social media.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Well, and I think it's just general best practice, like to just ask the artist direct, like, what are your rates, as opposed to asking somebody else? Because like she said, rates change. And I mean, like, just because the rate was something last year doesn't mean it'll be the rate this year, and so on and so forth.
Or even between events, maybe.
Yes.
Maybe they were really eager for business, so they lowered their rate just a little bit. And then at the next event, they were going to be very, very busy. So they wanted to raise their prices.
Yep. And I've had that happen.
Yep. And that's their prerogative.
Yep, absolutely. I had that happen last year. I paid one price at WonderCon. I paid a different price at ComCon, and that was okay because I was like, it's a different convention. I get it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. All right. Well, hopefully we made you all feel a little bit better about potentially ordering a commission. Again, highly recommend it. We do keep a running list on our site of any open commissions that we know about, but there are tons of artists who have commissions that we don't know about. So we also recommend when the exhibit floor opens, like especially for Artist Alley and Small Press, like take a look at who's there. If there's anybody you're really excited about, like even if they're not on our list, feel free to reach out to them on your own and just ask like, hey, are you doing commissions? And just don't feel intimidated about it, guys. And at the end, you get one of a kind art that only you have, which in my opinion is about the coolest thing that you can bring back home from Comic-Con.
Pretty fantastic.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you all very much for tuning in to this special bonus SDConCast.
Thanks for sending in those commissions. It was so fun to see everybody.
It was. So if you have any ideas for future podcasts, please feel free to let us know. And Erin, where can we find more of your work on the internet?
You can find me at Bavarian Erin on Twitter and Instagram. Carrie, where can we find more of you on the internet?
You can find me on Twitter at Carrie Dixon and mostly on the blog Twitter. If you want to get a hold of us, you can send us an email at sdcomiccon.blog@gmail.com or find us on Facebook at facebook.com/SDConcast or tweet us at SD_comic_con, or you can also just comment on the Patreon post. And thank you all again so much for being our supporters. We greatly appreciate it. And thanks for listening. And everybody go shawarma
commissions.